Hi, welcome back to Christus the Ministry for our series, Crafting a Personal Witness Talk, a guide for Catholic teens. My name is Xander, and today we're going to talk all about preparing with prayer. Wait, what? So often when I was assigned a topic or a talk, I was told to pray with it. And for the longest time, I had no idea what that meant. So today we're going to break down preparing with prayer into 3 steps. So before going into that, I want to emphasize a couple things. First, that when preparing to give a talk, we need to have the right posture of heart. That is to stop and recognize how wonderful of a blessing and a gift that it is to be entrusted with this talk, to be entrusted with conveying the truths of the faith. And then second, that prayer isn't just the first step in the process, but prayer is central within the whole process. Because whatever we do and wherever we're at, we should be bringing it into prayer, and we should be asking Christ to shape the whole talk that we're giving. Because I think so often when we're preparing to give a talk, we just run to the desk and we grab the Summa, grab the Bible, grab the Catechism, go on YouTube, watch our favorite Catholic speakers, and then we on our own try to compile the best talk we can come up with. But we forget about the kneeler. We forget that Christ should be central within this process, as he is the whole reason we are giving this talk. So we should really take the time to ask, Lord, what do you want to tell them? So before going into how to prepare to give a talk with prayer, I want to direct our attention to the Gospels of instances where we see Christ model for us what it looks like to go off and pray. So before he begins his public ministry, Christ goes off into the desert for 40 days to pray. Before he calls the apostles, Christ goes off to pray. Before he teaches the Lord's Prayer, he goes off to pray. And before he goes to his passion, he goes to the Garden of Gethsemane to pray. So time and time again, we see instances of Christ modeling for us what it looks like to pray and the importance of prayer before major things. So moving forward on how to prepare with prayer, I first want to say that one of my favorite questions to ask a priest is, Father, how do you prepare for your homilies? And the response that I get a lot is something along the lines of, they'll sit with the weekly gospel a little bit each day, they'll see what comes to mind, they'll write down notes or thoughts, they'll bring it all into prayer, and then they'll assemble their whole homily. And so I've decided to break down preparing into prayer into 3 steps. That is, invoke, write, blessed sacrament. So first, invoke. We have to sincerely invoke the Holy Spirit before going off to write or do anything. That is to sit, reflect on whatever prompt or topic or talk that we've been given, and to just say come Holy Spirit. And just ask the Holy Spirit to give us inspiration for whatever it is we're going to do. Find your favorite saint too. Just ask for the intercession of that saint. One of my favorite things to do is before going off to write a talk or anything, to just say come Holy Spirit, but then to say a Hail Mary. And just really going back to that posture of the heart, just going back to centering myself and realizing that whatever I'm doing should be for God. Whatever I'm doing should be in communion with God's will. So number 2, we have to write the talk. One of my really good friends, and I love this guy, he wouldn't write his talks down. He would just be like, I've got it all up here, Xander. And it worked for him. It works for very few people. We're going to do a whole video on writing and outlining a talk. But it's so important to actually sit down and write the talk. And then third is Blessed Sacrament. So whatever we've written down, whatever notes we have, whether it's really good in an ordered format or it's a total mess to us, bring that all to Christ and let him work on it. Because in the presence of the Blessed Sacrament and adoration is the perfect time to just sit at his feet and say Lord, I'm really confused about this. Or Lord, I have no idea how to convey this big concept. Or Lord, I don't even know what story or example to use. Or I'm so confused. Or just in all of it, just to say Jesus, what do you want to tell them? And it's in bringing all of this to the Blessed Sacrament that I at least find clarity in whatever it is that I'm doing. So oftentimes I'll print out a paper that has my talk on it, or if I've written my topic, if I've written my talk on like a notebook page, or sometimes it's like a napkin, I bring that to adoration with a pen, and I'll just write down whatever thoughts come to mind for me. And then afterwards, I'll kind of repeat this whole process. So that invoke, write, blessed sacrament, you might not do it once. You might do it a couple times when preparing to give a talk, which is wonderful because you're allowing the Lord to like form your heart and shape your heart as you're preparing to give this talk. And one thing that I've really realized is that the talks that I struggle the most with and the talks that I'm really stressed out about are the ones that I haven't actually prayed with, which kind of makes sense. So a perfect example of this is I was asked to give a talk at an adoration night at another high school. And I gladly accepted the invitation, and I was like, I've got some time to write this talk. And then, week before, I was like, I've still got some time to write this talk. And the day before, I was like, oh, I should probably get on this. And then day of, I still really had nothing. And I was starting to get really stressed out. Like, I don't even know what I'm going to say tonight. Like, I need something. I need to figure this out. And then I went to my friend and I'm like, dude, like, what should I do? And my friend just kind of stopped me and said, like, Xander, have you taken it into the chapel? And all at once, it's like, it just clicked. And I'm like, no wonder I'm so stressed about this, because I'm trying to do all of it. Like, I'm trying to come up with the best talk in the world, or like, out of nowhere, like, I'm trying to do everything. And I haven't even taken it into prayer. I haven't even considered, like, Lord, what do you want to say? Like, Lord, what do you want to convey to these people? Like, what is it that you want to put on their hearts? I was so much I-centered in that preparation. So I think that it's also important to realize that regardless of how we feel about our talk, prayer should be at the center. So that's a perfect example of me having to learn a very valuable lesson about what it means to prepare with prayer. But also, whenever we're feeling really good about a talk, we should still bring it into prayer. A perfect example of this is when I was leading a sophomore day of prayer with a really good group of friends for our high school. And before going on to give my talk, I would love to go in this room next door because they had a beautiful statue of the Blessed Mother and like a kneeler in front. And I would just take my talk and I would just kneel in front of that statue, invoke the intercession of Mary, but also just saying like, okay, like, Lord, this is what I've got. This is what I'm going to say. I put full trust and confidence in you. Like, Lord, let me say whatever it is that you want and nothing less. Nothing more, nothing less, only what you want. And it's kind of putting myself in that mindset of realizing that all of what I'm doing is for Christ and trying to kind of abandon myself in that. So one other thing I want to mention along the lines of preparing with prayer, before you go on to give your talk, I think it's really valuable to have someone pray over you or pray with you, as it's a great way to calm you. It's a great way to help you focus on whatever it is that the Lord wants you to say in this moment, and helps you kind of not pay so much attention on like the crowd or the group that you're speaking with, but to kind of just have that moment with the Lord. At least I've noticed that in others, and it really helps me as well. I hope that this has been formative for you as we've discussed how to prepare with prayer. Please comment, subscribe, like, all of that. Let us know what you think. And then please join us next time for our episode on writing and outlining a talk. God bless.